What up, Claytriots? It's your boy, Technically Clay, streaming at you from somewhat cloudy St. Louis, Missouri. How's everybody doing out there? I hope you're doing great. I'm doing great. I'm doing better than great. You wanna know why? DSA! DSA! That's right, people. Last night was a good night. A good night for the working class. And, we deserve to take some time to celebrate that, which we will in a second. Since last time you saw me, let's see. I can't remember what I did 2 days ago. Probably not a whole lot, probably video games, and that's it. Then I went to bed, woke up, went to work yesterday. After work, me and my wife went to go see Backrooms, which was pretty good. I thought it was okay. I thought it was, the plot and stuff wasn't exactly the best, I would say. It was like, if I had to rate the movie in its entirety, I'd probably say like a 6.5 out of 10, something along those lines. Like, it was fine, you know? However, I think that the thing that I really liked, obviously, was the atmosphere. I think that liminal spaces and stuff are so interesting. Does something really weird in my brain where it just kind of clicks. I think it's the same reason that like Lovecraft shit, like Lovecraftian horror and stuff, kind of like that unknowable, ununderstandable architecture and like that sort of stuff. Like I just find that incredibly fascinating. And there was a lot of that. And the bad guy, I was not, or like the main, I assume most people are familiar with the concept of the Backrooms, that there's, entities essentially chasing you around and stuff, at least in like the video game and whatnot. But I was surprised what they chose for the entity in this movie. It was very, very interesting, and I think it worked. Anyway, so yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty fun. Came back. I didn't really do anything else except went to bed at that point. Like the movie was, I can't remember. I think it was like 6. And so I didn't want to like stream for just like an hour and then have to stop. So that's why I didn't stream yesterday. But I'm back now. Don't worry, people. And let's see. Then I went to bed, woke up today. Normal work day. I worked out. I made some instant ramen for lunch, my fancy kind. I'm just on a ramen kick. I've been on one for like a year now, so I don't know if it's a kick at this point. It's just like one of my go-to, foods. But and let's see, got a new grill. Well, a grill. I didn't even have a grill before, but my wife wants to do like a combined like D&D/cookout thing on upcoming like July 5th or something. So, I gotta, we have a gas stove. So it's like, I assume I'll be able to work a gas grill. I don't think it'll be that different, to be honest. But anyway, so yeah, I got that. I still have to set it up though. Let's see. Anyway, and here I am though. Here I am with you, the viewer. Hello. Like I said before, DSA. Man, dude, it was crazy last night. It's crazy. I've been watching all of this stuff. I've been on like a sugar high, just watching everybody cope and seethe like online. It's been incredible. And we're going to get to it, people. Don't you worry. I saved some videos. I did not react to all of the videos without you guys. I'm going to react to some of the videos with you guys. So that's going to be the first thing we're going to do. We're going to go over what happened last night with DSA, particularly the New York portion. I know there were some other locations where DSA had some victories. I might not cover that part that much. I'm going to primarily be covering the New York ones. We're going to watch Fox. We got 2 videos lined up. We got Fox News for the conservatives freaking out. And then we got Morning Joe for the libs freaking out. At least I think they'll be freaking out. We'll see. Maybe they've come around. Maybe they're all pro-Zoran now and they're all anti-Israel. Something tells me probably not, though. That's okay, though. They'll get there. They'll get there eventually. And and then that's about it for the DSA coverage. Then we got Iran. We're just going to be doing some updates about the Iran situation, more about the fallout of these negotiations, because I think the initial negotiations are basically like, or the first meeting is complete, so there's not a whole lot going on until they go back for technical implementation stuff. So yeah, I got some stuff about that. I'm going to talk about the region. The Middle East is getting reorganized around Iran. It seems like there seems to be a lot of evidence of that, much to the chagrin of Israel. The U.S. military industrial complex is just incapable of producing like a paper bag at this point. So it's unable to produce the missiles and interceptors that the Trump administration is asking for. What a surprise. Who could have predicted that? And we got, various other Israel-Lebanon news as well there. We'll go over these ICE protester things because I think they're pretty serious. Like the ICE protesters were sentenced, I think there were 8 of them who were sentenced to a total of like 450 years amongst all of them, which is an insane amount of years. Like most of them got like 20 to 30 for just like passing out lit and stuff. Like it's crazy, dude. So there's that. And also the jurors on that should be fucking ashamed. Anyway, there's that we'll go over. And then we're going to go over housing, which is, completely out of control, unaffordable to the vast majority of Americans. And we're going to go over that and the housing bill that Trump decided that he just doesn't feel like signing. So sucks to suck. If you want a house, I'm sorry. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get into the festivities, though. The festivities, people. But we're going to start before we watch them, before we watch Fox News and before we watch MS Now. I have to read an article for you people because I want people to know, what exactly happened before we get into the coping and seething. So hold tight. It's a short article. There's lots of bullet points, lots of blank space. Okay, you can do it. And if you're watching the VOD or something, you can just skip forward if you don't want to hear this. House Democrats were left stunned on Tuesday night after 2 of their colleagues, including the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, lost primaries to left-wing challengers. Why it matters. The New York primary results are poised to double the bloc of Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, my organization in Congress, something that is not sitting well with some moderates. People who do not support the DSA wring their hands at cocktail parties while the DSA is organizing. Representative Tom Suozzi, Democrat in New York, the co-chair of the Bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus, told Axios, "Let me know when you actually solve a problem," by the way. And they're not wrong, but the standard Democrats are not capable of organizing. That's not their goal. They're capable of accepting money from billionaires, but unfortunately, that's not going to win when you have an actual organized group that is going up against you. Another centrist House Democrat speaking on the condition of anonymity to offer candidate analysis called the results an earthquake and a huge defeat for Democratic leadership. Hell yeah. Fuck 'em. It was a tough night, said Representative Greg Meeks, a close ally of leadership and the chair of the Queens County Democratic Party, told Axios. Now, why is it a tough night? Your side won. I mean, it was a Democratic primary. Why was it a tough night? Interesting. Representative Dan Goldman, a Democrat in New York, lost re-election in a landslide to progressive former New York City Comptroller Brad Lander. What was his whole campaign theme? Like the neighbor guy, I forgot who he was themed after, like the "Won't You Be My Neighbor," Mr. Rogers. He themed his entire campaign on that. Who led by more than 30 percentage points as of late Tuesday night. Brad Lander, by the way, he still considers himself a liberal Zionist. So, he's not fully aligned with the cause, but he's better than a lot. I equate him very similar in his politics to Bernie Sanders, who is not, far enough on the side of good, but he is still better than the vast majority of people in Congress. Anyway, led by 30 percentage points, a bloodbath for Dan Goldman, who used to be like a fucking behemoth, man. He was the one who led the impeachment against Trump back when the Democrats actually pretended like they wanted to resist fascism instead of just collaborating directly with them. Representative Adriano Espaillat, the Hispanic Caucus chair, lost his primary more narrowly to Democratic Socialist Daria Liza Avila Chevalier, according to the Associated Press. Now, this wasn't this was the longest shot, right? This was the one that she won by, I think, 4%. Like it was 52-48 or so. That's if you she won by 4%. I think there was a third candidate who got like 3%. So not exactly that, but you know what I mean. Lander, Avila, Chevalier, and Valdez were all backed by NYC Mayor Zohran Mamdani, while House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries endorsed Espaillat and Goldman. Jeffries also hinted at a preference for Reynoso on Tuesday afternoon, telling reporters the Brooklyn borough president was backed by a coalition of very progressive Democrats and many of the unions that we've worked closely with. These unions are, man, they need to they need to get in gear, man. Get in gear. Now's not the time to be like a bourgeois union, like aligning with the liberals. You need to, we got socialists coming. Like you need to chop. You want to be on the side of workers, you're going to have to start, getting to it. He also noted pointedly that it is the most gentrified district in the nation by far. Not too moderate complaints that DSAers are propped up by young, white, well-educated transplants. Okay, let's see. So this is just more analysis by these people. But anyway, that was basically what I really wanted to cover. Is just who won, who lost, why it's good, why these people suck and they need to get out of office. Espaillat is like pro-ICE, basically. I mean, he's pretending he's not, but like he I think, like signed on to legislation in terms of like giving ICE funding and stuff. Like, yeah, it's no good, no bueno, and not in Zohran's Democratic Party. So anyway, so those are the players. We got Brad Lander versus Dan Goldman, Espaillat versus Avila Chevalier, and sorry, one second. Claire Valdez versus Antonio Reynoso, where Claire Valdez was the DSA candidate, Avila Chevalier was the DSA candidate, and Brad Lander is not officially endorsed by DSA because he's not a DSA member. He quit after October 7th, but he was still a part of the Mamdani picks. So that's what happened. Now let's get into the good part. The coping and seething. I love it. I can't wait. And you can't wait either. So let's watch this Fox News video. It's called Socialist Sweep. Mamdani-backed candidates win big in New York primaries. Here we go, people. I'm ready.
A Fox News alert. And did you feel that? A socialist earthquake overnight as three Zohran Mamdani-backed challengers win their Democrat primaries and drag their party even further to the left. And while Mamdani becomes the party's new kingmaker, some Democrats are preparing to fight back.
Plus, President Trump making his economic pitch in Pennsylvania as gas prices fall. But the president has a new target that he says
who cares? Talk about DSA.
For you to pay at the pump.
And foreign World Cup fans obsessing over ranch. I'm not talking about a one-story home. Right. I'm talking about the dressing.
Okay, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, people.
Quick move by one brand to make sure our fellow humans throughout the world can bring what we give to the world, which is ranch, back to their home countries. It's what you need to know. You're watching Fox and Friends First here on a Wednesday morning. I'm Todd Pyler.
And I'm Carly Shimkus. And we begin with Madeline Rivera with the very latest on the primary results coming in this morning. And Maddie, it was a socialist sweep in New York City.
That's right, Carly and Todd. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani says the results of Tuesday's primaries were the beginning of a political movement. One of the far-left candidates he backed beat a five-term incumbent in New York's 13th congressional district. Congressman Adriano Espaillat,
This is a fucking bloodbath, dude. He wrecked him. This is the incumbent. Do you understand that? This is the incumbent, the one with name recognition. Like, this is crazy, dude.
Of the Hispanic Congressional Caucus lost his seat to Democratic Socialist Daryalisa Avila Chevalier. In New York's 10th Congressional District, Mamdani-backed progressive leader Brad Lander ousted Congressman Dan Goldman, who was the lead prosecutor in Trump's first impeachment trial. And in New York's 7th Congressional District, another Democratic Socialist member, Claire Valdez, won the Democratic nomination. Chevalier and Lander have said they want to abolish ICE. They've also been...
By the way, the Claire Valdez one was also a landslide. Like, she won by like 30% or something. It was crazy as well.
critical of Israel. Valdez, meanwhile, wants a state takeover of utilities and housing and unions for all, and said Free Palestine was on the ballot.
Hell yeah, it was.
Solidarity is the force that we need to vanquish Trump's fascism, to abolish ICE.
Hell yeah.
And to stand up to the billionaires.
Abolish ICE. Free Palestine.
Hell yeah. Dude, this shit rules, dude. It rules. Pump it into my veins. And yes, I love when Fox News puts their words up there. I love when they do that because I know that the abolish ICE stuff might freak out conservatives a little bit. But this shit fucking rules to like the vast majority of people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I mean, I think that the people who want, like, I think ICE's disapproval rating is like 80% or something, you know, like people hate that agency. So like, I don't think that it does as much as they think it does, but also like all the other stuff, free housing for all, like capping utilities or like, government owned utilities as opposed to these shitty ass companies that don't do fucking shit for them. Yeah, I think that shit rules. And I want you to keep playing it. Give us some free airtime. I love it.
Organize your union and join DSA.
What we have delivered here today is a clear mandate that the era of taking a check and cashing a check and calling it representation is over.
Outside of the Big Apple, South Carolina's State Attorney General Alan Wilson will become the Republican nominee for governor. President Trump initially endorsed Wilson's opponent, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette, and she did finish first in the primary election.
Brief side quest to do the Trump endorsements, I guess, on this one.
The president then decided to endorse Wilson and Evette in the runoff.
I believe he recognized what we've been doing for the last 10 years to support the things he was trying to accomplish.
I'm going to skip ahead to the DSA portion again. I think it's about here.
I want to thank you, Mr. President.
And in Utah, former Congressman Ben McAdams is on track to return to Congress after winning the Democratic primary in the 1st Congressional District. He beat several progressives in the process, including one backed by Senator Bernie Sanders. Calling it out.
All right, what a night. Madeline Rivera live for us. Maddie, thank you so much. All right, staying on this very topic, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani propelling 3 New York primary candidates into the midterms, giving the progressive wing of the Democrat Party a major boost.
This is your victory. What you all have shown this evening, whether for state assembly, state senate, or Congress, is that a year ago, it was not the end of a political movement. It was the beginning. And let's hear it for a politics that will never forget working people.
Hell yeah. Dude, okay, this is what's amazing about Zohran, man. I mean, I always knew that Zohran was incredibly talented, right? He's an incredibly talented politician, but he's also a real one, okay? He's a DSA member. He is a person who believes in the actual cause. And so, what he did here was this is something that is so unheard of in like normal politics, is he expended political capital for a cause, not for money, not for donors, not for entrenched neoliberalism or whatever, like he did it for a cause that he believed in, and he expended it like I don't know, it's so unheard of, and people are not used to seeing this, and it's breaking a lot of like media people's brains when they try to cover it, because they're like they can't even understand why he would do this, because they're not used to politicians having an ideology that isn't like perfectly aligned with capital, right? Or perfectly aligned with donors and stuff. And so yeah, I don't know, man. This is just awesome. He's doing great. We need every single person, that every single little mini Zohran, like these people that he puts into office, like you see what Zohran did by getting just him in there, right? Like each of these people can help do this all across the country. Like every single victory, it compounds on itself. It's exponential. And you have to be ready, by the way. You have to, like, I want people to understand, you have to be ready to organize. You have to be ready to, like, because I think once this ball gets rolling, like I think that it'll roll pretty fast. And so I'm just letting people know, like, you should, if you can, if you're inclined to go join your local DSA, or if you don't have one where you are, to start one. Like, I couldn't encourage it more. It's been great. I'm a DSA member. I love going to the events and stuff. I love, the camaraderie that comes with it. I love, meeting people, and I love, but then I also, the biggest thing is I love feeling like I'm making a difference. And when these victories happen, we get to take a little victory lap and sit in that feeling. I think that it's incredible. And Zoran was kind of the inflection point, I'm pretty sure, of when this thing is going to, in the future, when we look back on it, I think we will see Zoran's election as kind of the inflection point of when the Democrats finally lost their party to people who are actually pro-working class, and ending the Clinton neoliberal hell that we've been living in under the Democratic Party for so long.
For a politics that is ready to write a new chapter in our party's history.
Conservative Partnership Institute Vice President Rachel Bovard joins me now. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us. It happened last night. And all these socialist candidates believe in Medicare for all. They believe in abolishing ICE. They believe that Israel is committing genocide in the Middle East.
They just keep playing our best numbers, man. They just keep playing them for free on fucking air. They keep blasting out all of the best policies that we have right into the ether for all of these boomers. Now, granted, like I said, the boomer audience that watches Fox might not, they might not like that, right? But the average, working class individual hears that and goes, "Oh, okay, I want some Medicare." You know what I'm saying? Like that's what the average, just non brain addled Fox News boomer, I think would think when they hear that. Even conservatives, because to conservatives, these Democrats don't sound like the Democrats that they're used to. They sound different. They sound, number one, they have trust. They sound like they actually stand for something, because they are going against the typical Democratic Party line. They're even fighting against their own party in order to change it, right? You could think of it a lot like what Trump did in order to, Trump, whenever he got elected, he mobilized a large coalition of not just normal voters, not just normal Republican voters. He got a lot of independents and even some, Democrats and stuff to be like, well, I mean, we can try something like this or whatever, I think that DSA candidates and Zoran Pact candidates and all of that sort of stuff will have that exact same reverse appeal when it comes to conservatives and those people who wouldn't traditionally even look at the Democratic Party.
And one of them, Darya-Lisa Avila Chevalier, once posted on Twitter that she forgot napkins, so she wiped her hands on the American flag, and she and the others are supposed to be sitting members of Congress. What is your reaction to this, and why this socialist movement?
Sorry, that one might make people mad or whatever, but come on. Are we really going to cancel her for writing a fucking tweet back when she was 18 or something? What is this cancel culture fucking bullshit? Seriously? Talk about her current policies, not her whatever the fuck random thing you could find back when she was being an ultra on Twitter or whatever. I mean, I think that that's a little bit ridiculous. We're not back in woke one, okay? You can't be doing this cancel culture bullshit. We've moved past that.
It's growing right now.
Well, there's no getting around it that this was a very good night for the DSA, for the Democrat Socialists of America. And I think what should
I also love that they call it the Democrat Socialists. It's the funniest fucking thing. It's my favorite thing. I don't know why. I mean, I don't think that it has any impact. They're I don't know why they do it. I think just to associate it with the Democrat Party or the Democratic Party or Democrats in general. But I'm just that just makes the Democrats look better. I don't know what, I don't know. I'm curious what when their billionaire donors tell them exactly how they're supposed, all of their talking points, feed them directly into their hands every morning. I'm curious what those donors, why they, or what those billionaires, why did they come up with that messaging. I'm wondering what made them decide that.
Concern everyone is that this is a growing movement. Remember, the DSA has grown 10% in membership since February. They have been
it's about to get even bigger
at the local and county level in red states like Arizona, Kansas, Iowa. So these congressional seats are simply the next step in the process of them consolidating power and becoming less of a fringe movement on the left than moving towards becoming what is now the establishment Democratic Party. As you mentioned, people with extreme views are now going to be sitting in the United States Congress. And it's not just, you saw the DSA update its policy playbook just earlier this month. They now want to abolish the Senate. They want to abolish the Supreme Court and the presidency and make it all subject to Congress.
Okay. I mean, I didn't even know that those were all in the DSA thing, but like, yeah, the Senate fucking sucks, dude. Okay, people out there, even conservatives, if you're listening, you do understand why nothing gets fucking done, right? Like, it's because we have a million choke points throughout our entire democratic process. And the Senate is one of those choke points where you need a fucking like 10-person majority if you ever want to pass fucking anything because of our stupid ass filibuster law. It's insane. It's insane. And it stops every piece of legislation that could ever possibly be seen as good. And same with the Supreme Court. It's another choke point where it's like, I guarantee you, if we enacted legislation that made it like actually that actually improved your life in some way. Let's say we said like, like let's say we finally enacted Medicare for all. Everybody gets on Medicare, the most popular program in America, and you finally have healthcare, right? You finally have free healthcare at the point of service, and all you have to do is just keep paying taxes like you do today, right? Like, let's say that happened. The Supreme Court would strike it down instantly because, again, another choke point. Like, these institutions are not working. They are not working for us, and I don't necessarily know if we need to abolish them, but they need to be substantially reformed, for sure. I'll have to look into like the DSA official line. This is also Fox News framing, so they're going to try to make it seem as extreme as it possibly can. But I'd have to look at at the website to see if that is like official policy or not from a DSA perspective.
They want to abolish the Supreme Court and the presidency and make it all subject to Congress, in addition to a whole host of other things.
The other thing also is that I think it's to try to get the people's say to have more weight, right? I personally don't like judicial review. I don't like that if Congress passes something that the courts can strike it down. I think that's undemocratic. I think that if the people say that they want something, then it should be out there, and who gives a shit what the courts think, right? Like, and then when it comes to like the presidency, I don't know what they're talking about there. Honestly, I really don't.
That they've talked about for years, like borders aren't real and all of these crazy proposals.
Borders aren't real.
Think this is something that
what are you talking about?
Can't be laughed away. Mayor Mamdani can rightly, at least after tonight, claim the right as kingmaker of the left. And for establishment Democrats, you break it, you bought it. They had time to push this movement into the fringe. They didn't. The time to say no to it was when they said borders aren't real and America is racist and Israel and the Jewish people are the source of every problem in America. They did not do that. So now,
see, here's the thing. Why the fuck would we listen to you? This is what I'm saying. I think that they know that these people are harder to defeat. Like these DSA backed candidates, they know that these people are harder to defeat. Fox News would not willingly give good advice to the Democrats. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get the Democrats to try to like engage in some sort of civil warfare against these candidates, which, by the way, they don't even have to say this. The Democrats are going to do that regardless because they are also neoliberals, just like these people on Fox News who don't want any actual power being given back to the people. So but they know what they're doing. They want to fight against regular Democrats because regular Democrats are easy as fuck to defeat. like just look at Kamala. She lost to fucking Donald Trump, like a fucking Epstein associate, right? Like, I mean, come on, like. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think that these people have actually any they actually in any way care about the Democratic Party. Everything that they say that the Democratic Party should do or whatever, if the Democrats were a party that wanted to win, then they should do the exact fucking opposite.
Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democratic Party in Congress, is going to have to deal with these people who now represent, in many ways, the face of his party.
Yeah, you know, and
he ain't gonna deal with them. They're gonna deal with him. That's what's gonna happen, baby.
a lot of people say what happened last night, it took place in New York City. No surprise there. But, you know, these three candidates that win, they give the socialist movement more messaging, more power there. When they get to Congress, they're going to have committee assignments and just become overall more visible. And it sounds like what you're saying is with these three races and the local elections that are taking place that aren't getting as much attention, that there is a real movement here that could impact politics on a national scale.
Yep.
That's exactly right. I don't think, you know, for a long time, we've shrugged and said, well, it's just New York, it's just these blue states. As I mentioned, we now have Democrat socialists, elected officials sitting in red states like Arizona, even in Texas, in Iowa, in Kansas.
See, and you'd think, right, according to you, how did that happen, right? How did that happen? They're so radical. Why would the conservatives that live in these red states, why would these rural people who live in these red states decide to vote for them?Maybe because they like what they're fucking hearing.
These are county seats.
But yeah, keep it up, Fox News. Like I said, keep blasting out like all of our W's all across the world. Tell them all of our policy platforms. I dare you to. Please do it. Please keep doing it.
These are local elections, and what happens after that are these federal elections, are these federal seats. You just saw a Democrat socialist candidate win the Democratic primary in Maine's 2nd district, which is a district that Donald Trump won by 10 points. I mean, they are making inroads in, you know, all across the country.
Again, what did I just say? I think that these people have real mass appeal across the aisle as well. The way that they message, the way that they talk. And that's another example of it. Like, you're just validating all of my thoughts. Like you're literally in real time validating all of my assumptions.
Country. So I do think this is something that the Republican Party, the institutional right, needs to grapple with. The left should have done it a long time ago, but now this is who they are. And I think that the establishment Democrats are going to have a hard time controlling them. Hakeem Jeffries has a lot to work to deal with, because these are not members of Congress who are going to be deferential to, you know, the establishment Democrat way of doing things. They're going to get on committees. They're going to do what they want. So buckle up, Democrats, because there's a lot coming at you.
Well, Democrat Mamdani said that the Democratic Party needed change, and last night that is certainly what happened. We'll see how that change translates when it comes
to every state. Unto every state we will give a Zoran. Okay, every state will get a DSA mandated Zoran in a position of governance, and whether these red states like it or not, they are going to get health care. They are going to get, you know, lower housing costs. They are going to get lower utility costs. They are going to get bans on data centers. They're going to get, free college at public schools or at public institutions. You know, they're going to get Medicare for all. I might have already said that one, but that's a big one. So I'll say it again. Yeah, they're going to get all of these things. Everyone's going to be allowed to join a union. No union busting. They're going to, you know, all of this stuff, you know, that the unions like what your grandpa had back in like the 40s or whatever, you know, a real actual strong union. Like you're going to get all that shit whether you like it or not. I'm sorry. We will assign a Zoran to every single state, and you are all going to get all that shit, and you're all going to fucking like it. Well, speaking of not liking it, let's turn over. We just watched the conservatives reaction to all these socialist victories. Let's go ahead and watch the Morning Joe reaction. Let's see what the libs are thinking, because I have a feeling they're also not going to be very happy. I mean, you know that how they say like liberal tears or whatever. Yeah, I can get behind that too. Every once in a while, I can drink some liberal tears.
Oh, the Democratic Party is so far left. I actually saw one guy who's fairly respected have the nerve to say, "Oh, well, this just proves that if you're in the Democratic Party, you have to be crazy to win." I'm thinking, wait, this from Trump's MAGA Republican Party? But you know, they're going to focus on New York City, and they're going to ignore the admiral winning in South Carolina, a woman who's committed her entire life to protecting and defending the United States of America. They're also going to ignore a woman just up the road that's going to be running against Mike Lawler, who was a Bronze Star.
Well, so far they haven't been that hostile towards the DSA. But we'll see. We'll see if they end up being. But I'm pretty proud of them so far for not instantaneously just shitting on all of them.
3-time was awarded the Bronze Star 3 times. She was special ops, one of the first women to ever lead.
Oh my God!
Special ops units.
Another girl boss. Another girl boss war criminal. I don't know if we need another.
Afghanistan and Iraq, had 6 tours there. A bona fide war hero. And this is, I gotta say, this is what the Democrats are proving themselves really to be really pragmatic. If you look at what they did last night, New York City, they go far, far left. That'll work for New York City. In places like Lawler's district, which is a swing district, South Carolina, 1 swing district, finding these military heroes, much like they did.
They're wrong, though. They're wrong. Those candidates are not going to be as good. Like, if you just pluck some, like, CIA-backed shill or whatever, like, and throw them into the race, like, they won't do as well as an actual DSA member. Because here's what a lot of people don't understand. When you run as a corporate-backed, like, donor-backed politician, right, you are essentially just playing on hard mode. You are putting, like, real restrictions on what you are allowed to say or not say, like, in public. That is basically what happens. Like, you're not allowed to say that Israel's committing genocide. You're not allowed to say I want universal health care. You're not allowed to say I want public ownership of utilities, right? You're not allowed to say so many things that would get people like would get people to want to vote for you. You're literally just hamstringing yourself. So then when you have to do that against a Republican who's not going to play by those same rules, like, they're going to say whatever the fuck they want, because like they're like, I guess I would say, like, yes, they're still not going to say, like, we want to give people health care, or we want to give people housing or whatever, because that's not what they ever say. Like, that's not a part of their policy platform. Their policy platform is like, how am I going to take all of your animosity and focus it on trans people or whatever, right? Like, that's like their policy platform. And so they don't have to play by those same rules. They can say whatever the fuck they want. And that's what makes it so much harder for these corporate-backed politicians to actually win. They also have a hard time distinguishing themselves from the Republicans because they essentially are just like Republicans. They're Republican light. That's what a lot of these corporate Democrats are.
With the New Jersey race, Mikey Sherrill, and in Virginia, Spamberger, while they were electing a socialist in New York City, Mamdani. It worked then. We'll see if it works this fall.
Yeah, these are congressional races. These are not statewide races. So it's not terribly surprising that someone to the far left won the Upper West Side or won areas of Brooklyn. It is impressive that Mayor Mamdani, in his short term in office, was able to sort of bless these candidates, and some of them winning.
I feel like they're really changing their tune today. That I don't think that these people were expecting this at all. In fact, I think they were all gearing up for the like, I don't know if people watched the whole build up of this, but a lot of these places were building up the we told you so. Like, they were arming and they were reloading the I told you so cannon. Like, and they were really pumping it. They were like, well, this means a lot for Zoran. This means a whole lot for Zoran. If these people lose, that could really set him back. Like, they were prepping everybody for that. And that is what all of these people were expecting. But they were not expecting this. And so I think that I don't know. I think right now they're hiding it. I think that they're a little bit upset, but you know what? They're actually being pretty good right now, playing pretty nice. So I'll give them, the Clay Gold Star of the day for Morning Joe.
Overwhelmingly, and unseating incumbents. Dan Goldman losing by 30 points in his district. The incumbent and Congressman Espaillat, who is a major figure in congressional Hispanic caucus, the leader of that caucus as well. He was unseated in a closer race there. So, yes, as the New York Times says this morning, Mamdani showed he can be a kingmaker. But to make this a national story and not look at what you just discussed, which is the race up in Westchester County, where Mike Lawler is going to have a tough fight because a lot of the support he's shown for Donald Trump, and in South Carolina and other places where it turns out, Jonathan Lemire, in specific congressional districts, Democrats pick candidates that they think can win. In this case, in New York City, some of those were socialists.
Yeah, I mean, Democrats feel good in recent cycles since the 24 disaster about finding the right candidates for the right races. I was talking to some Democrats yesterday who reminded...
They're really leaning into this ideology, man. This ideology with no proof that it works. In fact, I think there's been pretty demonstrable proof that it's failed, like consistently throughout the years. This idea that you have to tack to the center in order to win in these locations, man. I just think that those other primaries, they weren't a focus, right? They weren't a focus yet. As this organization gets bigger, as we get more DSA members in Congress, there's a feedback loop happening here, right? Where we get more people elected, and then those people go and govern well, which then gets people more invested in the project, which then feeds more membership, which then gets more people elected. It's like it's a constant feedback, right? Eventually, we're going to come to those red states too, and we're going to, like I said, give them all healthcare and give them all lower housing costs and ban data centers and all that shit. It's just like, that's not, we're starting where you would start, in the commie corridor.
Us, as we look towards this November, the success that Democrats had running moderates for the governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia. They won both. But yet, and we're seeing the same there in South Carolina. They feel very bullish about a lot of races coming up this fall. But yes, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And in New York City, certainly that's the story here, is Zohran Mamdani, in his early days in office.
And also, let's just wait. Let's see what happens in Maine. With Plattner. Let's see what happens in Michigan with Abdullah Sayed. Let's see. We'll see what happens. I mean, what's their pivot going to be? Where's their goalpost going to shift after that? I wonder. They're going to be like, I don't know. Like, yes, it works in purple districts, but it doesn't work in like the deep red or the deep south or something. Like, I don't know. I just don't know how many more times they can shift this goalpost before it becomes absurd.
Office having significant coattails, being a kingmaker and picking off. You're choosing, Joe, to use his political capital to pick off some incumbents to put in some of his sort of more of like-minded fellow travelers, more to the left than others. I mean, Dan Goldman has a record that a lot of Democrats pretty happy with the exception of some of the support for Israel in the months after the war. And also, there's also here in New York, there's sort of the Latino political machine also showing its age. I think that's part of it as well. That's a subplot to what happened here. But no doubt, what worked in New York City, Democrats aren't trying to replicate it other places. It's not one size fits all.
Well, and being anti-Israel everywhere will be popular. Let's be absolutely clear about that. I think everybody understands that at this point. There's no way. I think it's almost impossible at this point to be a pro-Israel candidate in a Democratic primary going against a vocal, outspoken anti-Israel candidate. I don't know if anybody can show me any evidence of of that working. I know Richie Torres won last night, but I don't know if I thought he was like unopposed. Like, who is he going against? I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of things going on here. And Jonathan, we're going to have you put on your daily news hat here. I personally thought when Mamdani came out and endorsed all these people, I thought too soon. Because even if you win in those cases, and he did, and he should be saluted, it's extraordinary political machine there. And he's going to build a lot of power as a kingmaker in New York City. A lot of scar tissue when you're mayor of New York City with a lot of people, even if you win those races. But he's proven himself to be a brilliant political operator. I'm sure he'll sort through that. I just hearing a lot of people talking about the anti-Semitism in New York City, and last night proved the anti-Semitism in New York City, and this is Mamdani's fault, this is so-and-so's fault, this is this left. No, it's not. It's really not. If you want to blame anybody for what happened last night, in my opinion, if you want to blame anybody, Jonathan, I think...
Why do we need to blame anybody? What happened last night was glorious. It was magical. Okay, I think they're starting to maybe get a little bit more, we'll see what he says here. But it feels like he's starting to ramp himself up a little bit into a classic Joe Scarborough meltdown. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm not in the business of making predictions. Okay.
This left. No. It's not. It's really not. If you want to blame anybody for what happened last night. In my opinion, if you want to blame anybody, Jonathan, I think you have to blame Benjamin Netanyahu. 4 years of maximalist aims, 4 years of ahistoric goals in the Middle East that anybody from Dr. Brzezinski to even me could have told anybody over the past 20 years. It's not going to work. And I've said it all along. There's always blowback in the Middle East. The idea that you're going to be able to brutalize children and women in Gaza with bombing that looks indiscriminate on TV.
Where was this energy like 2.5 years ago, man? Like, seriously, Joe Scarborough. Oh my God, dude. It's like these people who are like the same people like who are like complaining about Avila oh my, I always forget her last Daria Lisa, her campaign, or like her past like where she was in the Palestine camp, or like she was at Palestine protests on October 8th, right? And people are like getting mad at that. I'm like, you're getting mad at her for like what, for opposing genocide like too early? Is that a thing that you can get mad about? I didn't know that. Like it's so like, and now all of these people have like completely flipped, but it's like they still attack her, I feel like, for that exact same, for just being like right too early. It's like they want to have it both ways. Also, he's still doing the classic thing of putting all of the onus on Netanyahu as opposed to the nation state of Israel and Zionism, which at its core is what is responsible.
Day in and day out for years, that you're going to be able to level half of Lebanon, that you're going to be able to continue to allow thugs to run wild in the West Bank and brutalizing Palestinians, brutalizing Christians in Bethlehem, brutalizing Christians across that area, along with Palestinian Muslims, especially Palestinian Muslims, blowing up Catholic churches in Gaza. Of course, I'm saying things that would relate to some of these people who are so shocked that Israel is in such low standing in America right now.
Guess what? If you said all of this stuff like 2 years ago, you would have been called an anti-Semite. Like, I'm serious. Like, it has changed. We should be happy that the environment has changed or whatever. But all of this stuff that he's saying right now is exactly what people like him were calling people like me anti-Semites for saying, 2.5 years ago. So, I mean, I appreciate it, I guess, but I don't know. Like, I appreciate that you're on, that you're somewhat on the right side. You're still not calling out the right villains here. You're putting it all at the feet of Netanyahu. But, the more people, the better, I suppose.
Forgive me for a quick digression, but I was always instinctively pro-Israeli and anti-Palestinian growing up. You know why? Because when I was a young child, one of my first memories was this.
Okay, I don't know if I need his story time. I want to get back to the analysis. I'll just skip past it a little bit.
That shaped an entire generation's views on that conflict. Well, what's shaping the views now? And an American president who tells Netanyahu, go.
Okay, I think I'm done with this. Thank you, Joe Scarborough, for joining the Al-Qassam brigades or whatever. Welcome to Hamas. We are all Hamas. Everybody is Hamas, and we all condemn ourselves. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to some of the X.com Twitter meltdowns about the DSA slate. So we got Matt Walsh here says, third world communists are the enemy. They've taken over our greatest American city. They're taking over one of our two major political parties. They hate this country. They hate white people. They hate our heritage and traditions. This is the fight. Get in the game or go away. So he's doing the classic racist agitprop, saying that all of these brown people are coming in. The implied thing is that Jews are bringing them in or whatever. Like, that's what great replacement theory is. But yeah, that they're all coming in and they're changing the way we do things around here. They're all socialist communists and they hate white people. But But this is also contradictory compared to like some of the other people's reactions, because all of the other people's reactions have been on Twitter are people saying, oh, they're all a bunch of like gentrifiers. Like all of these DSA members are a bunch of like young white gentrifiers who are coming to take like these black people or Hispanic people's jobs, because like I won't lie, the DSA organization is like 80% white. Okay. It is. However, I want you to take a look at like the slate here. Like, look at this. It's all brown people, almost all brown people. Like it's like whether you I understand that it would be nice to have a more diverse group in DSA. I think that that's something that we should always strive for. I think that like black socialism is a necessity, especially in America, if we want socialism to ever succeed. And like some of the people at the forefront of like the previous forms or like the previous movements of liberation and socialism were black. And I think as our membership becomes more pronounced and stuff, I hope that we will get more black and brown people in our ranks. However, we are clearly uplifting a lot of black and brown voices in our who we're choosing to elect. But anyway, so it's like they can't seem to decide whether we are a bunch of like white gentrifiers who are taking power away from black and brown people, or whether we are a bunch of black and brown people who are taking over taking over the country from white people. And Crystal Ball says Republicans are deeply divided over whether to blame brown people for DSA wins or claim only privileged white people support these candidates. Disappointing lack of message discipline. And the thing is that it doesn't really matter. It's both at the same time for these people. Whatever suits the narrative. Like, I mean, it's easy for us to point out the hypocrisy that like half the people are saying that DSA is a bunch of like white people who are taking the jobs of black and brown people, and the other half is saying it's all the black and brown people are taking over the jobs of all the white people. But in the end, it's all doublethink. It can be whatever they want in their brains. Like depending on what they need for the narrative. So it doesn't necessarily matter to call out things like this, but it is kind of funny. And also we get to watch Matt Walsh cry in his little diaper. For those unaware, I think he has like a diaper fetish. Let's see what the ogre himself has to say. The only Democrat in the Senate who still has a spine didn't mince words tonight, calling the rise of the DSA and NYC the dancing days of the dirtbag left, and calling out Mamdani for grieving over a Hamas sniper. Let's see what he has to say
to this, because to me, this represents...
And he's in his favorite little hug box, here at Fox News, where they all tell him he's a super smart guy. And those people who are saying that he's brain dead, they're all just lying, that you're super smart. We need you to keep coming back, and we need you to keep pumping Republican and MAGA talking points. Please, the one reasonable Democrat, the one with the brain injury.
To this, because to me, this represents nothing of the old Democratic Party that we once...
Oh, yeah. He sold a stuffed animal of himself in a diaper. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick, actually. Matt Walsh diaper stuffed animal. He sold something like this at one point. You see, there's literally a picture here of him holding it. Yeah, and also, I think he's dressed up in a diaper before. Like, I'm like 90% sure that he has like a diaper fetish, which is, hey, if it's all consensual and shit, I don't really care. Go for it, dude. But it's obviously hypocritical, so I get to make fun of you for it. But anyway, let's see what the ogre oaf has to say.
Because to me, this represents nothing of the old Democratic Party that we once knew.
Yeah, no, I mean, the kind of people that are trying to run out of office. I mean, they're just good traditional kinds of Democrats you would have expected in New York City now, and now this has just become it's just been the dancing days of.
That's weird, because Fox News told me that all of them were commies. They were all communists. And now the ogre is here saying that they were actually good Democrats. Like, what's going on? I thought they were all communists already. What's the difference? You're replacing one communist for another communist, or a socialist for a communist. It shouldn't make that much of a difference to you guys. They're all communists.
The dirtbag left, with some of these candidates are outrageous. You have candidates, they abolish ICE, abolish the police, abolish the border. And she even said F Kamala Harris and more of these outrageous kinds of things.
Dude, I'm telling you, Daria Lisa is like too based for her own good. She won, by the way, in a predominantly black district with they did a whole bunch of messaging around her saying fuck Kamala Harris, and she still won, which is kind of crazy because look, Kamala Harris was a terrible candidate. And she was a neoliberal hack. And that's the reason that she lost. And she did, support Joe Biden's genocide against the Palestinians. So for all of those reasons, I also say fuck Kamala Harris. However, generally speaking, black people, I think, have a more favorable view of Kamala Harris on average. Same with Obama. I also kind of say fuck Obama as well. But I think that in general, black people still have a relatively favorable view of both of those individuals, and the fact that she still won despite those vicious attack ads is kind of crazy.
And then you have Mandami. He was
Mandami.
Hamas sniper was killed by Israel just the other day, and he was grieving that. I mean, these are emerging the full pro-Hamas wing. A lot of these candidates that very likely are going to win tonight just declaring a war on just regular Democrats.
See, I wouldn't say that I'm pro-Hamas, but I would say that Hamas is less evil than Israel. Come on. It's not even close. Okay, let's see. We got Ben Shapiro. Last night, a bunch of candidates who literally despise America won in NYC. Establishment Dems who live in fear of their radicalized base will cave to them. By 2028, people who hate the country and wish to destroy it could be in charge. Wet ass P word. Was that okay? I'm trying to get better at doing voices. I don't think that I'm the best at it, but I'm trying to get better. Yeah, cry harder, bitch. That's what I have to say to you. We got Letitia James, lawfare recipient Letitia James, or double house haver, second house haver that she filled out paperwork wrong. Letitia James. New York Attorney General expressed frustration with New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani for endorsing a group of DSA or Democratic Socialists for statewide races following his victory last November. Some of the candidates that he has supported are individuals who do not understand the politics of New York City. Apparently they do, because they fucking won. Apparently you don't understand the politics of New York City. The cultural differences from district to district, who have not been part of the history and the struggle of some of these districts and are relatively new to the body politic, James told CNN. Look, there wouldn't be so much space for Democratic Socialists if the Democrats were actually showing that they were going to resist fascism. If Democrats were doing their fucking job and actually resisting the Trump administration's fascist agenda, then there wouldn't be so much space for Democratic Socialists. Which is this is all, we're just taking the opportunity that you guys left. I mean, that's all there is to it. If you don't want this to happen, well, then govern better, and govern for the working class, and fight back. Actually fight. Don't just roll over and die. The New York Attorney General said some of the Mamdani-backed candidates don't understand the issues of race and class per the outlet. Mamdani's influence in New York elections was present. Let's see. James said other political colleagues have expressed that they are disappointed in Mamdani's push to change the party. Ass to suck. All of us are a little frustrated with the Democratic Party, but you don't blow it up. That's what MAGA has done, James told CNN. Oh, yeah, there's a difference here. There's a difference. MAGA's whole goal is to take as much of our tax dollars and as much of our money and funnel it into the hands of the smallest number of pedophiles that they can possibly find at the top of our society. That is the goal of MAGA, is to take all of our money and funnel it to as few pedophiles as they possibly can, right? Socialists want to do the opposite. We want to claw back all of that money from those pedophiles and distribute it amongst the masses. That's what we want to do. These are diametrically opposing goals, okay? If you can't tell the difference between one and the other, then I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Let's see. However, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries brushed aside concerns tied to the Democratic Socialist mayor on Wednesday. No, Donald Trump has a working relationship with the mayor of the city of New York and has made that publicly and explicitly clear to America, not once but twice in the Oval Office, Jeffries said to reporters when asked if the party was moving too far left after Tuesday's primary results. So he's saying that no, because Donald Trump is, having meeting with Zoran, then that means he's not moving too far left, which is really just a cop-out, but sure. President Trump and Mamdani met at the White House. Sorry, that was intentional. I know how to say his name. Met at the White House in February, blah, blah, blah. Despite the cordial interaction, the president posted about the primaries on Truth Social on Wednesday. America the Beautiful will never be a communist country, he said. Let's see what the comments on the Hill are thinking. Apparently, the individuals he supports understands the politics of New York City well enough to win elections. That's what I said. It's stealing my ideas. If you think the introduction of new and different ideas is blowing things up, you are neither progressive or liberal. This is why progressives and liberals are fed up with the Democrat Party. That was uncalled for, Tish. The Republicans are doing an excellent job of imploding. We don't have to help them. Oh, yeah. So she's talking to Letitia. Yeah. And saying that they don't trust their own voters to decide what's best for themselves. Nobody, even the Hill, man. The Hill is the most Republican-coded fucking, organization or like news organization that like, I don't know. It's incredibly Republican-coded. And like, even all of them, like, they're like, I mean, I guess maybe there's some liberals who read it as well. It's like classic liberals and Republicans. But yeah, that's crazy. Let's see what else we got. We got a Zoran. Let's just go ahead and listen to him real quick.
This win is incredible. Daria Lisa began a campaign where she was up against every possible set of odds, and she pulled off a victory that is helping to rewrite politics in our city and in our country. She is someone who brings a clarity, a conscience, and a conviction to a politics that has often been missing those things. And in a city and in a district that has been so desperate for leadership when it comes to putting working people back at the heart, she will deliver that. And it was an honor to be one part of this incredible campaign and to see her win alongside Brad Lander, Claire Valdez, and every single one of the state legislative candidates that I had the privilege of supporting. It shows that last June was not an anomaly. It was not an aberration. It was the beginning of a new kind of politics. And I cannot wait for what that next chapter is going to look like.
Oh yeah, dude. He's a real one, man. It's crazy having a real one in there. Someone who actually wants to govern effectively. This win is
incredible.
Who wants to govern effectively for the working class and not just a neoliberal hack who's just going to collect paychecks every day. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Let's see. NYC Mayor Zoran Mamdani spoke with Dropside News after all three of his endorsed congressional candidates swept their primaries Tuesday night. We already know all that. Pro-Israel and dark money groups spent a collective $8.4 million across the three races against Mamdani's endorsed candidates and lost all three. Get fucked, AIPAC. Get fucked, pro-Israel lobby. Keep spending it all, man. We will, just throw that all that money. If you want to spend it in Democratic primaries, you're literally throwing it into the void, okay? And we will accept it. Just like throw it into the void. We will incinerate it for you. Keep trying. I mean, don't keep trying, honestly. Like, I do think that it still has some impact. I don't want to lie too much, but not lie, but I don't want to say like that it has no impact. But it is getting harder and harder, and they have to spend more and more. That it's making it like unfeasible for them to actually do this for all of these Democrat primaries across the country. And then we got to talk about Hassan a little bit too. Hassan has been putting in the work, man. He has been putting in the work. He has been going to New York. It feels like every fucking week at this point. Like every Saturday, he just flies to New York and stays there for a couple days. But yeah, and he did a phone bank for Daria Lisa that I think called 90,000 people. 90,000 people. He got 90,000 people on the phone, and according to their statistics, or like the DSA statistics, they believe that converted, or not converted, but or turned into, I guess you could say converted into around like 2,000 to 3,000 votes for Darya-Lisa, and she won by about 2,000 votes. So just saying, that made a huge difference, and we have to give him some props. He's really putting in the work. I don't know how he does it, man. Like that much time going from place to place, traveling that much, I don't think I could ever do that. So I'm going to give him some laurels here. Yeah, keep it up, Hassan. We appreciate it. And finally, the work is not over, everybody. There's still more DSA candidates, more DSA primaries that are Democrat primaries that are going to happen. And here is one that is upcoming. This is Milat Quiros for Congress in Colorado first. It says this is the speech that won a 63% of the vote at Denver County Assembly, beating DeGette for the first time in 30 years. A better world is within our reach, so let's honor the organizers and dreamers that came before us and build together. Let's watch it real quick.
When I was a baby from Ethiopia. I watched my parents work for years to navigate the immigration process. And after they earned their citizenship and chose their political party, I asked my dad, why are we Democrats? And he didn't hesitate to tell me about the Civil Rights Act, Social Security, fair labor laws. This is the party that fights for the people. Party didn't just wake up and decide to do the right thing. It was pushed by organizers, by dreamers, by people who refused to accept the world as it was. And with everything at stake right now, it's on us to push the party again.
Hell yeah. There you go. There's her message. You know, it goes on for more. You can watch it on your own if you want. But yeah, that is the DSA slate, man. We spent a long time on it, but we got to celebrate, man. You got to celebrate your victories. You know, it's what gives us all hope. You know, it's always good. And this, like I said before, the main takeaway I want people to understand is this isn't some linear curve. Okay. This is exponential, and you need to be ready. Yes, you watching right now, you need to be ready, because we need to be organized whenever this movement hits critical mass, and whenever we can finally change this country's politics for good. Okay, everybody needs to be educated. Everybody needs to be organized. You know, stick with it, and we'll just keep on pushing. Join your local DSA. That's my advice to you. Okay, let's move on from DSA and go to Iran. This should be a shorter Iran segment because there's not a ton that has happened since the last time. It's mostly articles that I have here for you today. So we'll start with this from DropSite. Democratic Senator Van Hollen on the U.S.-Iran MOU. So I'm not going to read everything he says because he's going to say it right here. So, but I wanted to highlight this because it seems like, some people have good messaging and some people have bad messaging. And so let's go ahead and hear this, which I think is, as far as what I can tell from the transcript, an example of relatively good messaging, at least from the Democratic Party.
Indeed, the Netanyahu government's warmongering has been so blatant that even President Trump and Vice President Vance are publicly admonishing the extremist Israeli government and their blatant attempts to undermine diplomatic efforts to permanently end this war. Mr. President, this agreement is a bow to reality, the terrible reality that many of us predicted would unfold if we started this illegal war in the first place. The war was a blunder. We should
see illegal war. Like he says it right off the bat. It was illegal. It was a war of choice, a war of aggression.
Recognize that. And America is worse off than before we started.
That's true.
And there is no good way to end a bad war, and we should end it.
Exactly. Same with Afghanistan. There is no way to end a bad war, and I give Biden credit for actually getting us out of Afghanistan. Sometimes when you fail, when you lose your war, especially as the empire who's choosing, it is a choice that we made to get into it. Sometimes you got to hold that big fat L if you want to get out of it, and so that's what we're currently in the process of doing. And some people might be frustrated by that, but I'm sorry, that's just what happens.
And we should end it. Those pushing to abandon this agreement owe the American people an answer to a simple question. What's your alternative? What comes next?
Ground invasion.
More lives lost, more money wasted.
Yeah, definitely. It would be a ground invasion. That's what they all wanted. In fact, that's what Israel wanted. Israel always thought that if they got America to start their campaign against Iran, that it would inevitably follow that America would get bogged down and would eventually end up in a ground occupation of Iran. And guess what? I kind of thought that too at first. But the thing that a lot of them didn't understand is that they were dealing with Trump. And Trump is not an ideological, committed Zionist. Like, if they had done this to Biden, if they had gotten Biden to do it, then I think that he would have been much more likely to actually end up in a ground occupation than Trump. But Trump has the rare, just ever so often, the rare wherewithal to be like, I don't want to go down in history as the guy that got us into another, a forever war or whatever, right? Like he has that in his brain. And so and it's all selfish, it's all self-motivated. And so he decided to be like, okay, no, we're not doing that. We're out, right? I think it really has surprised Israel to a large extent as well. But anyway, there is no great way to get out of a bad war, like you said, and I think that's good messaging.
More lives lost, more money wasted with no path forward, because that is the only alternative they are offering. I want peace to prevail, and I hope this MOU becomes the foundation of a broader diplomatic settlement. But I also hope, colleagues, we will learn something from this needless tragedy. The calls for military adventurism, the promises of quick victory.
And also the reason that I wanted to show this was if you listen to a lot of the other Democrats, like Chuck Schumer and like even Hakeem Jeffries and stuff, what their messaging is like, they're trying to attack Trump from the right? They're trying to be like, oh, we should have, like, they're almost like goading him into saying, like, going back to war. And they're almost like they're saying, like, if we were in charge, we would have done the war right and we would have won, which is stupid. That's not how it works. But okay, that's what they're trying to say. And it's like, why are you attacking him from the right? Nobody wants this. Nobody in your party wants this. We want a true anti-war voice. Like, you should be against it out of morals. That's where the Democratic Party base is. And in fact, that's where a lot of fucking Republicans are too. Now, granted, most of them are against the war more for selfish reasons, I would say. Like, it's not good for America, or it's not good for gas prices or whatever. But I'm sure there are still some that are like, yeah, it was immoral to blow up that girls' school or whatever, and we shouldn't be in this war of choice for Israel, right? Like, I'm sure there are some of them like that, and that is the much more effective. Like, there is just such a hunger for that type of messaging in our country, and it's so hard to find that I'm like, I wanted to kind of highlight Chris Van Hollen here of actually doing, some actual good messaging when it comes to the war.
The fantasies of regime change under the circumstances that were deployed and the endless effort to undermine diplomacy led us directly to this disaster. And we should not repeat those mistakes. We should take a stand today and end this war. And we should finally start putting the interests of the American people ahead of costly and unnecessary conflicts.
Hell yeah.
I urge my colleagues to vote yes on this War Powers resolution.
I think it passed, by the way, the War Powers resolution, to rein in Trump's ability to wage war against Iran. I wanted to go ahead and read now about So I said from the beginning that after this blunder that America engaged in here, it was going to become apparent to the various Gulf states that they cannot rely on America for their defense, right? This is what I said from the very beginning. Iran has been peppering them with missiles because they have American military bases on their soil where they are launching from, where they are giving intel from. Like they have these military bases on their soil. And during this conflict, those military bases just turned into missile sponges. Iran pounded them incessantly. And they did not help protect these countries at all. And now that they've all kind of come to the realization that Iran is here to stay, that this fantasy that Iran could be contained by America is out the window, and Iran is now the new regional hegemon. Now, many countries, I've heard reporting of Saudi Arabia, I've heard Oman. I've even heard that the UAE has come to like offer pittance to Iran. And now we're hearing about Qatar as well. All of them are going to Iran to start seeking regional security architecture, right? And they're not going to America, and they're not going to Israel. I said also, I made a tweet about this, that like the Abraham Accords was supposed to be the thing that brought all of these Gulf state countries into alignment with Israel so that America could finally leave the Middle East, and then Israel could control all of them in order to contain Iran, like with all of their help, right? That was what the Abraham Accords were doing. But what's happening is the reverse. It's the Iran Accords, where all of these countries are now coalescing around Iran, realizing that they're the regional hegemon, and that and Israel is now the one being like left in the dust or whatever. So I'm going to read this article real quick. This is about Qatar in particular. Regional countries seek to establish security framework with Iran. Qatar PM to Financial Times. Qatari Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani discussed regional arrangements following the conflict with Iran, including the Strait of Hormuz, a new regional security framework involving Tehran, a ceasefire verification mechanism in Lebanon, and a proposed $300 billion investment fund. Sheikh Mohammed made his remarks during an interview with the Financial Times. Assessing the regional landscape, the Qatari PM said regional countries are seeking to establish a new security framework with Tehran aimed at restoring long-term stability. Part of what we are doing now as regional countries is to create this regional security framework between us and Iran. Sheikh Mohammed added, that will hopefully have economic cooperation in the future between all of us to bring the region back to stability. Yes, the more they integrate their economies with Iran, the less likely that Israel and America will be to engage in another war of choice in the future. So that is a good call by their part. Iran and the United States announced on June 14th that they had reached a 14-point memorandum of understanding, though Pakistan mediation aimed at ending the war and resolving disputes through dialogue and negotiations. The agreement, known as the Islamabad Understanding, entered into force on June 18th after being electronically signed by Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and U.S. President Donald Trump. The memorandum includes provisions, blah, blah, blah. We know all that. Sheikh Mohammed described a proposed $300 billion investment fund for Iran as an aspirational number, contingent on Tehran reaching a final settlement with Washington. According to the memorandum of understanding reached between the United States and Iran, Washington commits in cooperation with regional partners to develop a mutually agreed final plan worth no less than $300 billion for Iran's reconstruction and economic development. Yeah, so I think that America is pawning a lot of this off to the Gulf states. Iran just wants this $300 billion. That's what their estimates are for how much damage there was, and that's how much they wanted in reparations. So whether it comes from America or from the Gulf states is, I think, relatively irrelevant to Iran. The memorandum states that implementation mechanisms for the plan will be finalized within 60 days as part of a final agreement. The document does not specify which parties could contribute funding to the proposed investment vehicle, one of several economic incentives reportedly offered by Washington to encourage Tehran to sign a final agreement. The Strait of Hormuz. We'll read this section too. The Strait of Hormuz remains open, and Qatar has received assurances that it will not be closed, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani told the Financial Times. The Qatari Prime Minister said shipping traffic through the strategic waterway is expected to return to pre-war levels within 30 days. of the U.S.-Iran MOU, though he acknowledged that it will take time to restore confidence. Sheikh Mohammed emphasized that a hotline between Washington and Tehran is essential to prevent rogue actors from disrupting the reopening of the strait. I wonder who he's talking about. He said a hotline agreed during talks in Switzerland is needed to counter disinformation and ensure coordination during mine-clearing operations in the water. He added that the Switzerland talks laid the groundwork for negotiations on a permanent settlement, while noting that the process remains in its early stages and that Qatar, alongside Pakistan, continues mediation efforts aimed at securing a final agreement. Sheikh Mohammed also said Qatar would oppose any Iranian proposal to implement transit fees on vessels passing through the strait. I've heard that that's going to happen. Whoops, I'm clipping a little. I've heard that that's going to happen. It's going to be a shared fee system between Iran and Oman, likely after the 60-day memorandum of understanding, is what I've heard. He says, this is against this international protocol. For a country like Qatar, it's our only water corridor, he said. Under the memorandum, Tehran is but the way that Tehran would argue is that we're the one who has to facilitate the safety. We are the ones who have to protect your ships. We are the ones who are, have to manage this waterway. And so we are going to take a cut of your, of what you're, shipping, just like a fee. So it could be argued either way. Like I've kept saying, Turkey has a very similar situation set up that is apparently not out of step with international law over there. Under the memorandum, Tehran is expected to discuss the future management of the strait, which is shared between Iranian and Omani territorial waters, with Oman and other Gulf states. If there's a proposed model by the Iranians, they need to argue the case, and we need to look at it. We cannot accept a situation or a condition where our gateway to the world is controlled. Lebanon ceasefire mechanism. On Lebanon, Sheikh Mohammed revealed that a deconfliction mechanism has been established to prevent escalation and verify compliance with the ceasefire. He criticized Israel's conduct, saying that while both Israel and Hezbollah blame each other for the clashes, Israel's response was disproportionate, obviously. The Israeli government has been escalating the conflicts instead of de-escalating and trying to engage in a constructive, responsible way, as they always do. Qatar energy and force majeure. Addressing the energy sector, Sheikh Mohammed said Qatar, the world's second largest LNG exporter, whose facilities were hit by Iran in the early weeks of the war, had already started to prepare its tankers after the warring parties signed an MOU last week. Within a few weeks, production will come back to normal, except for the damaged facility, Sheikh Mohammed said. Our teams have been mobilized already for a few weeks. Qatar Energy is preparing for operations to come back to normal as soon as the situation in the strait normalizes. Qatar Energy suspended production 4 days after the U.S. and Israel launched their war on Iran on 28 February, following a drone attack on its huge Ras Laffan LNG plant. I remember that one. So anyway, there's Qatar, making inroads with Iran, talking about the $300 billion investment. So there you go. The other thing I wanted to talk about related to Iran is this article from the Financial Times, because this one's just funny. And again, I like to get my I told you so's in every once in a while as well. This is U.S. defense groups to meet Donald Trump as missile production struggles. What a surprise. Our $1 trillion military industrial complex is unable to actually produce the weapons of death that it needs in order to wage wars of pedo aggression across the world. What a surprise. Who could have predicted that? Oh yeah, obviously. The administration is seeking to rebuild conventional weapons stockpiles while regearing for modern warfare. U.S. defense contractors are struggling to meet Pentagon demands to boost munitions production amid a rush to replenish missile stockpiles depleted in the Iran war. The backlog in U.S. weapons manufacturing is expected to dominate a White House meeting on Wednesday between Donald Trump and top American defense companies. The president has exorciated the companies for putting money into dividends and share buybacks rather than expanding production. But on Monday said they can't do that anymore. Dude, yeah, their goal is not to make missiles. Their goal is to funnel as much of that money into the hands of as few pedo billionaires as they possibly can. That is the entire purpose of our military industrial complex. And guess what, Donald Trump? You can't change that. There's nothing you can do, buddy. I'm sorry. Unless you literally want to seize them and take them under ownership of the government, you can't do anything about it. And he's not going to do that because that would make a couple billionaires and Epstein affiliates mad. At issue is the administration's effort to rebuild conventional weapons stockpiles. At the same time, it re-gears munitions production for modern warfare, seeding a new generation of defense companies to produce drones and other simple, low-cost systems. Lockheed Martin broke ground last month on a new facility in Alabama, while fellow primary contractors Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, and L3 Harris are also investing billions of dollars in expanding their manufacturing footprints. Wow, they're going to be able to go from making 10 missiles a year to making 11 missiles a year. I'm going to be so impressed when they finally do it. But the companies and their suppliers face obstacles ranging from procurement regulations and uneven government spending to chronic shortages of vital components and qualified labor. Yeah, and also you have to, retune or like redesign and retune your thing and create hundreds of contracts that don't go anywhere as well. According to PwC research, the 5 largest so-called U.S. defense primes had a combined backlog of undelivered orders of $1.36 trillion through 2025, up 24% on the year before. And guess what? Throwing more money at it is not going to solve the problem. In fact, it might make it even worse. Jen Stewart, unfortunately named Jen Stewart, Executive Vice President at the National Defense Industrial Association. I was like, why is Jon Stewart making an appearance here? Which represents U.S. defense companies, said there was a bipartisan consensus in Washington over the necessity for speed and reducing barriers to letting the companies go faster. Yeah, it's too bad. Under capitalism, it's impossible. It's just straight up impossible. They would need to go to a China model. That's the only way that they could do this. But they're not going to do that because then our pedo billionaires can't make, ungodly amounts of money. So they're never going to do it. But she added that the shriveling of the U.S. defense industrial base, which had 51 prime contractors in the early 1990s, but just 5 today, took 30 years to accumulate, and it's not going to be solved in 1 year. It's not going to be solved ever. Bitch, come on. The Pentagon did not, Lady Jon Stewart, come on. The Pentagon did not respond to a request for comment on the White House meeting, which will also be attended by the UK's BAE Systems. But the Trump administration has described its mission as putting the U.S. defense industry back on wartime footing. That will require transformation of what Stacey Pettyjohn, director of the defense program of the Center for a New American Security think tank in Washington, described as an invisible industrial base of small suppliers for critical materials and components. Dude, it's never going to work, man. Why are these people so stupid? Why are they unable to see the obvious, man? It's so easy to understand. If you just break out of the confines of like liberalism and break out of the confines of like capitalism, like you can solve these problems. They are solvable. It's just impossible under capitalism, but they're like just incapable of doing that. These companies struggle to raise capital for investments in new equipment, tooling, or capacity, especially when 1 year the U.S. government wants to buy 50 Tomahawks and the next year they want to buy 1,000. The U.S. domestic manufacturing base that underpins the primes is really in a pretty poor state, Pettyjohn said. You cannot just surge production of 1 or 2 components. You have to fix the entire system. The Trump administration has awarded longer 7-year framework agreements for munitions purchases in order to give defense primes and their suppliers confidence to expand production. Under Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's acquisition transformation strategy, the Pentagon has also moved to simplify the procurement process, encourage second source suppliers, and prioritize commercially available solutions over bespoke defense products. But companies note that even if all the right incentives were in place, they would still struggle to overcome acute material constraints. Stewart of the NDIA identified shortages in areas ranging from rare earths and critical minerals, aka China stuff, China owns all of that, to explosives and specialist processing of chemicals, as well as shortages of skilled workers with the necessary security clearance. You know what would solve all those problems? If you organize your entire economy around that, or if you specifically designed your military industrial base like from the top down and said, you're going to design this, you're going to design this, it's going to cost this much, it's going to cost this much. Like, that's literally the only way to do it. There's a reason that in World War II we did not, put the reliance of like procuring munitions and like bullets and like missiles and all of that stuff. We didn't put that to the free market. You want to know why? Because that would have been fucking stupid, and we wouldn't have been able to produce anything. They specifically set quotas for how all of these companies, all of these corporations were transformed into military factories, creating tools of war, and they were told by the administration exactly how many they were going to produce by exactly what time. And that's why it was so effective. It's impossible to do this shit if you are living under a capitalist organization of society. NDIA survey this year suggested industry concerns over the burden of complying with government requirements were growing more acute, with 50% of companies citing it as a pressing issue compared with 23% last year. There are more bespoke requirements. You have unstable budgets, and then you have protracted timelines between when an award is announced and when there's an actual contract, she said. Jim Will, a director at Minnesota chip manufacturer Skywater Technology, said defense primes were also struggling to find domestic sources of microelectronics for their missiles. Thank you, Donald Trump, for getting rid of any sort of ability to produce chips on American shore. China thanks you. Xi Jinping gives you a firm handshake of gratitude. The electronics in Tomahawk missiles aren't 2 years old. They're 10 years old, 15 years old. But because of offshoring or other reasons, the U.S. fabrication plant that built that chip 10 years ago isn't around anymore. As part of its production push, the Pentagon is turning to a new generation of defense groups that rely more on commercial technologies and practices. The government announced framework agreements last month with 4 companies: Anduril, Co-Aspire, Leidos, and Zone 5. Sorry about that. To produce more than 10,000 low-cost cruise missiles over 3 years from 2027. Over 3 years starting next year. I guarantee you it won't start next year. It'll start in like 2030, and it'll take 10 years. That's how our military industrial complex works. If you're curious, if you want to get like real estimates, multiply every timeline they say by 3, and every start date add in also multiply that by 3. So if it says it's a year away, it's going to be 3 years away. If they say it's going to take 3 years, then it's going to take 10 years. That's how it always goes. William Greenwald, a former Lockheed executive and Pentagon official, said the goal was to make the U.S. defense industry more like Silicon Valley, focus more on speed, risk-taking, and continuing to develop products after they are deployed, rather than waiting for the perfect solution. This is how the defense industry used to work in the 1950s when it produced Silicon Valley in the first place, he said. Right now, we have a traditional side and a non-traditional side of the industry, and we need to bring the two together. Jerry McGinn, a former Pentagon acquisition official who is now director of the Center for the Industrial Base at the Center for Strategic and International Studies think tank in Washington, said the amount of money going to new entrants had increased dramatically over the past decade. They warned that without deeper procurement reform, these new companies would run up against many of the same challenges as their more established peers. Pettyjohn said another way for the U.S. to boost defense production would be to increase foreign production partnerships to overcome domestic bottlenecks and increase overall demand, spurring investment. AKA, just buy that shit from China already. Can we just have our entire military depend on China? I mean, it basically already does. Let's be real. But she added the Trump administration's preference for America first, America only for production makes that politically unpalatable for a lot of other nations. I suspect a lot of countries are going to be turning to alternative suppliers because they're going to be number 22 in the queue for a Patriot missile, she added. Yep, there we go. Our dysfunctional military industrial complex strikes again. This is so funny, man. I don't know. I mean, I guess there's not really that much of a point to doing I told you so's, but these are like really obvious I told you so's. So like I shouldn't take that much credit for them. Anybody who like does any sort of actual analysis of the realities of our production base should be able to easily come to the exact same conclusions that I am. But the reason that I do this is so that other people that maybe aren't as familiar with how all of this works, why it is so incompetent, and why it works the way that it does, aka the pedo billionaires, the Epstein affiliates, making ungodly amounts of money from this. Like, I'm trying to explain to people how this happens and why it happens, and to also say, like, we can chart a better course. And I'm not saying chart a better course as in, like, I don't want us to start producing missiles effectively, to be honest, because I don't want us to be in endless wars. Like, we could just take all of this money, though, all of this trillions of dollars that we spend on this, and instead of funneling it into the hands of a few pedophiles at the top of our society, we could instead take that money and use it for us. We could use it. We could get Medicare for all 10 times over. Literally everybody in this country could get free healthcare forever if we just took $100 billion out of that budget, right? Out of that annual budget. And to be honest, it's probably less than that. When you cover for how much we'd save on the back end with people not getting sick. But, you know, whatever. Like the actual estimates, I think, are anywhere from $25 to $100 billion a year. So I'm putting it at the high end. Just take $100 billion out of it and everybody gets free healthcare. Take another $20 billion out of it. Everybody gets free college. You know, like all of these things are very doable if we just take that money away from tools of death and move them towards, you know, the things that benefit us workers, us citizens, because these don't, people. How much are you benefiting from our war in Iran? How much did you benefit from our war in Afghanistan? How much did you benefit from our war in Iraq? Not much, I'm guessing, unless you're like Mr. Lockheed or, you know, Mr. Martin. I don't think that you benefited that much. Okay. Where am I? An hour and 30 minutes in. I think I'm going to call it on that portion because I want to get to some of this other stuff before I got to go. And in particular, I want to talk about this ICE stuff because this is a little bit scary. So let me take a drink of water. This is a reading heavy episode. I gotta get that throat coat or whatever it is so I don't lose my voice. Anyway. So I don't know if people have heard, but there were some people who were charged in ICE protests. Now, my understanding is that there was one officer that got shot. Okay. You know, and that's obviously a crime. You know, I don't know how long that let's Google it. How long do you go to jail for shooting a police officer? 20 to 50 years. So, you know what? 20 to 50 years is what the normal prison sentence for that is. My understanding is the guy who actually fired the weapon got 100 years. But the part that's scarier than that, though, is that all of the people who were there, who were just protesting, also got like between 20 and 50 years in prison. And so I want to read this article. We'll read about what happened. This is kind of absurd. And I want to be clear. I want everybody to be clear that this is how it begins, right? This is how criminalizing dissent begins. They take an easier case, like say someone shot a cop, and then they lump everybody together who was associated with it, even if they had nothing to do with it, right? And then they start to broaden that. They say, oh, that's Antifa. And then actually anybody who espouses anti-ICE beliefs is Antifa, even if it's the majority position in America. Or anybody who espouses anti-capitalist beliefs is Antifa. Or like, this is how they keep broadening it. Or anti-Israel beliefs. That's a very prominent one as well. So anyway, I wanted to go ahead and read this article. We'll see what's happening, and hopefully you know, hopefully we can come up with something, you know, a way to fight back against this. A group of Texas protesters convicted of terrorism charges received unusually harsh sentences of at least 50 years in prison on Tuesday in a closely watched case that was widely seen as a test case of the Trump administration's effort to crack down on dissent. After a 3-week jury trial, the 9 activists were all found guilty of a slew of criminal charges in March. By the way, this jury should be fucking ashamed of themselves. I'm serious. Like, if you want to charge the one guy with shooting a police officer, that's fine. Charging all of these people with this is insane. but maybe I haven't read the entire thing, so I don't know the exact case, but I mean, I feel like these jury members should be fucking ashamed of themselves. Stemming from a 4th of July protest at an immigration detention facility, aka concentration camp, in Alvarado, Texas, south of Fort Worth. The demonstrators arrived late at night with a plan to set off fireworks as part of a noise demonstration to show solidarity with those detained inside. That's perfectly legal. As far as I know, if this is in Texas, I'm pretty sure you're allowed to shoot fireworks in public. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I thought that you were allowed to do that in Texas. A few of the protesters spontaneously broke off from the main group, and it was on July 4th as well. Like, come on. They're just doing their patriotic duty. A few of the protesters spontaneously broke off from the main group and vandalized cars in a parking lot, a guard shack, slashed the tires on a government van, and broke a security camera. Now, this is all stuff that I would put into the camp of civil disobedience, right? They vandalized cars in the parking lot, aka, concentration camp move, I don't know, illegally detained, concentration camp member movers or whatever, like these are tools of oppression, let's be real. And they are engaged in acts of civil disobedience, aka breaking the law for a good cause when they do something like this. Slashing the tires of the government van and breaking a security camera. But in the end, though, all of that, that sort of vandalism, I can't imagine would be more than especially if it's a first time offense or something, more than a few months in jail, maybe maybe potentially community service or something even. When a police officer arrived on the scene and drew his weapon, one of the activists fired an AR-15 from the woods, hitting the officer in the shoulder. The officer survived. So there's the part where the person actually shoots at the police officer. So there you go. An actual act of violence. And like I said, you can charge that guy. That's fine. Benjamin Song, who fired the gun at the police officer, was sentenced to 100 years in prison. Song was convicted of attempted murder of an officer of the United States, as well as firearm and explosive charges. Explosives? Are you talking about fireworks? That's insane. And firearm charges, I thought this was Texas. Are you not allowed to have a firearm in Texas? What's going on? He was also convicted of riot, providing material support to terrorists. That's insane, dude. He faced anywhere from 20 years to life in prison. Yeah. Zachary Evans, Autumn Hill, Savannah Batten, Elizabeth Soto, and Megan Morris were sentenced to 50 years in prison. Marcela Ruada, another demonstrator, was sentenced to 70 years in prison. All 6 were convicted of riot, providing material support to terrorists. What are they fucking talking about? Providing material support to terrorists? I don't even understand. And explosive charges, aka having fireworks. Is that all it was? My God, dude, this is insane. Rueda was also convicted of corruptly concealing a document or record. That's crazy, dude. This is insane to me. This is insane that they got this much of a sentence for what I've seen so far for what they did. They just protested and somebody shot, this guy shot the cop, right? They were just there protesting. What? I don't okay. Evans, Hill, Morris, and Rueda were acquitted on attempted murder and firearms charges. So they were acquitted on attempted murder and firearms. Yeah, I'm assuming they didn't have firearms at all. The sentences handed down Tuesday were unusually long, said Barbara McQuaid, a former federal prosecutor who served as the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan during the Obama administration. Most often, judges will sentence defendants for separate counts concurrently. Here it appears that the judge stacked the sentences for each count consecutively. I would have expected lengthy sentences here, more in the ballpark of 15 to 25, but nothing like 50 to 100, she wrote in an email. Yeah. Also, keep these names in mind, people, when we take charge again. They let all of the January 6ers out. These people need to be out too. That's insane. The sentences handed down on Tuesday were unusually long. Oh, I read that. Most often, judges will sentence defendants for... Oh, I already read that too. The Trump administration praised the sentences. The sentences handed down today make clear that Antifa terrorists who attack law enforcement and federal facilities will face swift and uncompromising justice. Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general, said in a statement, their violent extremism has no place in our country, and the Department of Justice will continue to aggressively investigate, disrupt, and prosecute those who threaten law enforcement officers or undermine the rule of law. In a statement, Song said he had fired at the police officer, Lieutenant Thomas Gross, because Gross had his weapon drawn and Song believed he was about to shoot a protester. Yeah, I mean, these officers shoot protesters all the fucking time. That's a very reasonable thing to think. So he thought he was saving a life, right? You know, you can disagree with that, but he thought he was saving his life. So, you know, in the end, I think that he probably, he probably shouldn't have done it. But I can see where they're coming from. Like I said, cops kill protesters all the fucking time. And he might have actually saved his life by doing that. So, I never want to see good people standing for what they believe in gunned down in the street, he said. Now 21 people have been arrested, have been prosecuted, have been punished for knowing me or being my friend. This is wrong. This is mass punishment, collective punishment. This is guilt by association. This is injustice. 100%. Evans, a mechanical engineer, said in court on Tuesday the intent of the fireworks was solely to get the attention of people held inside the detention center. He intends to appeal his conviction and sentence, said Patrick McLean, one of his lawyers. I don't understand how you can say that fireworks are like explosives. I'm sorry. I really don't. Oh my gosh, my thing is I feel like it's a little blurry, but whatever. I don't understand how you can do that on July 4th of all times too. That seems kind of crazy to me. As the witness, because obviously they weren't doing that to blow anything up, right? 1 second, I need to fix my camera. I think I go to properties, configure video. And then I think I do what was it? Auto. Did that work? No, that didn't work. I forgot what I did last time. Focus. Oh, I think it was this. Apply and then apply. Okay, there we go. I think it's back. Sorry about that. As the witness at the sentencing hearings stated, Zach has always been a caring and compassionate man, an accomplished mechanical engineer with no history of trouble with the law or violence. Quite the opposite. He has been a man of peace who has always stood up for those bullied or afflicted, McLean said. Zach continues to give compassionate help in the jail as a detainee, and we expect that will continue until he is one day cleared of his wrongful conviction by appeal or pardon. Are these, I guess these are federal charges. So yeah, the next president has to pardon these people immediately. And I'm assuming as long as we get a normal ass president, that they will get pardoned. Or at least the ones who didn't shoot him. The guy who shot him may not, or may get his sentence commuted to a smaller one or something. The sentences were absurd, said Amber Lowry, Batten's sister. This case has relied on lies, misinformation from the start, she said. It is heartbreaking nonetheless, but we will keep fighting to overturn these unjust convictions and to free Savannah and all Prairie Land defendants. We will not rest until they are free. The punishment for the protesters exceeds the lengthiest prison sentences given out for the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. Enrico Tarrio, the leader of the Proud Boys, who was convicted of seditious conspiracy, was sentenced to 22 years in prison. This just validates everything I've always said, is that if those people, if they had been leftists or if they had been ideologically opposed to Capitol or whatever, or because the ICE Gestapo is used to enforce the fascist organization of society in order to accumulate capital into as few hands as possible. So they are fundamentally on the side of, MAGA in general. They got fucking slaps on the wrist compared to these people. And these people did significantly less, except for the one guy. The one guy shot somebody. But yeah, I don't know. That's crazy. Even though many of the protesters did not know each other or were loosely affiliated, prosecutors said the attack on the officer was premeditated and part of a conspiracy. They also said the activists were part of a North Texas Antifa cell, no such thing, which was seen as part of the administration's effort to criminalize Antifa, which is not an organization, but rather a constellation of left-wing views. Exactly. They're just trying to criminalize any sort of left-wing view. And so far, or like with this, it seems like they are now, succeeding. Which, by the way, this is not going to stop with like just these people. Like it's going to expand. It will be any sort of political action eventually that is like left wing will eventually be criminalized and people will be thrown in jail for. That's the way. That's just the nature of fascism. That's the way it goes. And it's not just going to be left wing views too. It's going to be liberal views. It's going to be conservative views if they start to turn on Trump for various reasons or whatever. Like it's going to be any view that the Trump administration deems distasteful. They will be thrown in like perma prison. During the trial, prosecutors displayed group messages from some of the defendants in which they planned the protests and discussed bringing firearms and dressing in all black to prevent themselves from being easily identified. Yeah, this is America, bitch. That's their fucking right. But some of the defendants, like Benton Elizabeth Soto and her husband, Ines Soto, were not involved in the planning, arrived separately at the protest, and left when guards at the facility asked them to do so. Yeah, so they literally just came to a protest. They came to a protest, some shit went down, and now they're in jail for 50 years. That's crazy, dude. Moore stayed in a van. Many of the protesters had carpooled in with a cache of weapons and body armor while the protest was ongoing. She later fled from the police when they arrived on scene. She was ultimately arrested after a traffic stop that night. Prosecutors in the case charged and secured conviction of 8 of the 9 defendants for providing material support for terrorists. Again, I don't understand that conviction. None of these people were terrorists. Like the guy, like he thought that dude was going to get killed by the cop, like that's not an act of terror. Okay. That is trying to protect the life of another. The 9th defendant, Daniel Sanchez Estrada, was not at the protest, but was convicted of corruptly concealing a document or record after prosecutors said he moved left-wing zines and other materials at the request of Rueda, his wife, after she was arrested. Sanchez Estrada was sentenced to 30 years in prison on Tuesday. Are you kidding me? Daniel Sanchez Rueda was not at the protest, but was convicted of corruptly concealing a document or record after prosecutors said he moved left-wing zines and other materials at the request of Rueda. And he was sentenced to 30 fucking years for moving a couple fucking zines. Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ, my God, man. I worked really hard every day in this country, and I believe in human rights and helping others in need. I donate money and art to help animals and other people. I'm a father, a husband, and a teacher, but I'm not a terrorist. Sanchez Estrada said in court before his sentencing. Although the charge does not require prosecutors to prove a connection to any kind of terrorist ideology, only that a defendant provided support for one of a list of several crimes. What are those crimes? The Justice Department spun the convictions as proof that Antifa was a terrorist organization. It's not. There's no such fucking thing as Antifa, dude. There's no such thing as Antifa. It is straight up just left-wing ideology, broadly speaking. That is all it is. My God, man. The defendants in the case are a collection of activists who are loosely affiliated with one another through a local left-wing book club and gun group. During the trial, during the trial, prosecutors highlighted many of the zines that the book club read as evidence of the conspiracy and ideology that linked the demonstrators. That evidence was met with widespread criticism from legal observers who said that it amounted to criminalizing freedom of speech. Obviously. You're not allowed to read now. You're doing fucking thought crimes. Is that what we do now? Is that America now? You're if you read the wrong book and you happen to be at a place where a crime is committed, you're now in perma jail. My God, dude, this is gonna get so much worse. It fucking sucks. Prosecutors also focused heavily on the cache of guns that many of the defendants owned and some brought to the detention center on July 4th. That's not a cache then. Some of them brought some guns, okay. It is undisputed that all of the firearms were bought legally and that there was only one person who fired a weapon on July 4th. Prosecutors also highlighted other evidence they claim proved that the protesters planned violence, including their decision to communicate and auto-delete messages on Signal. Yeah, that's just normal. You're just being safe. And encrypted messaging, it's illegal to use an auto-delete Signal chat now? Are you kidding me? An encrypted messaging platform widely used among activists, journalists, and other citizens wary of government surveillance. Yeah, and a lot of conservatives too. So get ready, conservatives. You're about to get thrown in perma jail too. Since the charges in the case, the government has brought a number of similar prosecutions against activists. Earlier this month, prosecutors filed criminal conspiracy charges against 15 activists in Minneapolis who allegedly interfered with immigration and customs enforcement agents in performing their duties. A federal jury in Spokane, Washington, found 3 protesters guilty of conspiracy for participating in a 2025 protests at an ICE facility. A similar case in Chicago against protesters fell apart after it was revealed that there was misconduct before grand jurors. This is infuriating. People learn about jury nullification. This has to happen. You have to nullify these juries. You have to. This is ungodly wrong, and it's going to get so much worse. They're criminalizing dissent right before our very eyes. And it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop with just anti-capitalists. It's not going to stop with even anti-ICE, which is just the majority position in America. It's not going to stop with anti-Israel. It's going to eventually be anybody who criticizes the Trump administration at all. Okay? If you are at the wrong place at the wrong time and you have mildly criticized the Trump administration, you are going to get thrown in perma jail. That is where this road leads. Let's look over some of the FBI's evidence real quick. The Sotos were convicted of providing material support to terrorists. Among evidence presented by the federal government in the case was the Sotos tabling at zine fairs. The government also argued the Sotos' participation in the Emma Goldman Book Club, where members read leftist and anarchist literature, was evidence of supporting terrorists. How does this fucking work, man? These fucking bots that are on these fucking juries. I don't understand how they can be this goddamn stupid. During the FBI's multiple raids of the Sotos' home, they photographed boxes of zines as well as a collection of poetry about cancer. The printing press referenced in the case kept in the Sotos garage is 2 office standard printers along with a bookbinder. In the evidence presented, the FBI included a photo of the flag the Sotos hung behind them while tabling with the book club, featuring a burning police car and the acronym ACAB, which stands for All Cops Are Bastards. That's just rad, dude. That's just rad. And that's protected speech. Zines and political literature were taken from the defendants' homes, including common materials like Know Your Rights and protest strategy guides. Again, this is just criminalizing dissent, man. This is bare bones. Other evidence include packets of seeds for gardens, garden vegetables, and zines about plant propagation. Evidence taken from the home of the defendant Champagne Song included a poster from the anarchist site Crime Think invoking solidarity for queer and trans people and people seeking abortions. The FBI included leftist and anti-law enforcement stickers as evidence. Oh, yeah, anti-law enforcement? You mean like these? You mean like these right here? Oh, I can't zoom in on that photo. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. I mean, the law enforcement are basically fucking Nazis at this point. A highlight copy of the social justice book, Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Marie Brown was included in the exhibit files next to a flyer for the Emma Goldman Book Club. Dude, this is so obviously protected fucking free speech, man. And they were just gun lovers too, like gun owners. Like they go to a gun club. This, man, I'm telling you, dude, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. They're coming for you next, okay? They're coming for you next. And these people need to, whoever becomes president, you know, and whatever Democrat becomes president, like number one, needs to pardon all of these people and needs to punish all of the people who did this shit, okay? They need to go to jail for 50 years, man. And that's what's going to fucking happen. Okay, that's what's gonna fucking happen. Let's end on a more positive note, or not a positive note. It's not really that positive, but these are the parents of the people, of these political prisoners, of these hostages that our government is taking in their war against free speech and their criminalization of dissent.
And he's accepted full responsibility for what actually happened, but he will never accept responsibility for a lie, a government lie made to prosecute innocent people in order to get political persecutions, which they are now using as a blueprint to prosecute innocent people all over the country as domestic terrorists, which they are not. So thank you for putting up with that. And here's Ben's statement. I don't hate anyone. I don't hate cops. I don't hate Trump. I don't hate Nazis. My beliefs are composed thus. First, that we should help each other. And second, that we should protect one another. I never want to see anyone hurt. I never want to see good people standing up for what they believe in, gunned down in the street. I don't fear for myself. I fear for all of you. What will you do in this time of great failures and great injustices?
He's the first, man. I mean, he's like I wouldn't say he's the first. I mean, there were people who died already for dissenting, like the people in Minneapolis. I'm forgetting her name. Who did? Shut up. Sorry. Siri got in my way. Oh my gosh. Why am I killed protesters? Alex Preddy and Renee Good. Those two already died for dissenting. These people are thrown in, perma jail for dissenting. It's about to get a lot worse, people. I need people to be prepared and get ready. And the Democrats aren't going to help. We'll see. Are the Democrats going to come out here and try to help these people? I don't know. I don't think that they are. We need to get better people in charge. This is insane.
What will you do? How will you help each other? How will you help yourselves? Thank you.
Our issue with this case has always been, this isn't a bunch of terrorists. This is a bunch of kids and young adults who really have a really big heart and really wanted their voice to be heard. It was never intended anybody get hurt. It was never intended that any shots would be fired. They really just wanted their voice to be heard and to make the people who they felt were unjustly imprisoned, make them feel better, make them know that they've got people out there. So we've come from this different viewpoints the entire time we've been here. Yeah.
And I guarantee you, there's going to be a bunch of cynical people out there who are going to be celebrating this bullshit. And I just want them to know, I'm talking about the centrists. I'm talking about the apolitical people. I'm talking about, even conservatives out there who are going to be celebrating this shit. It ain't going to stop, man. It ain't going to stop. It's not going to stop. Okay. And eventually, because trust me, fascism doesn't help you either, okay? Your life is going to get worse under fascism, and eventually you're going to want to dissent, okay? I'm telling you, eventually you're going to want to dissent. And if you celebrate this shit, if you allow it to fucking happen, then, I don't know, you're not going to be allowed to. You're going to make it so much easier for the Epstein class and the pedo billionaires to continue exploiting you and taking everything from you. And yeah, it's just sad. It's just sad. But anyway, sorry, that was a bummer note to end on, because I got to get going. But at least we got this. We're electing good Democrats who are hopefully going to, actually change this system for the better. And like I said, the first president that gets in there, first Democrat president, they need to pardon those people as soon as fucking possible. Okay, people, that's the show. There's always hope out there. Join your local DSA, be a part of the change. I love you all. Thank you for watching. If you're watching the VOD, love you too. This has been Technically Clay, and the stream is technically over. Bye-bye.